right laws to be followed. That is our topic today, procurement laws. And today we have Mr. Kenneth Milgo, who is a lecturer at African Institute, handling the procurement in the institution. And today we are asking you this question. Is Kenya doing well in procurings? Is Kenya doing well in procurings? Yes, you can tell us. For example, those who procure, for example, we are having the affordable housing where we procure materials. Those who are in school, when we procure food in our institutions, or maybe you're procuring any materials in a government office. Is Kenya doing well in procurings? Our SMS number 23814, our WhatsApp number 0721 105 and 105 is our WhatsApp number. My name is Paul Kagi, together with me, Mangicho Mola, as usual, as we are going to drive you through the program this morning. Mangicho, here we are.
Sure, of course, a very, very wonderful and interesting discussion that we are going to have, Kagi, as you've rightly introduced procurement laws. And of course, we'll basically especially put a lot of emphasis on what we call public procurement. I think this is something that is very, very important. And we have the government agencies, the government departments, I think, who on a day-to-day routine go for these procurement processes and these procurement exercises. Now, of course, we want to find out, especially even from our guests, what is the process like when you're talking about procurement or public procurement? Where does it start from? What do you need to understand? Maybe as someone who is interested maybe to benefit from this particular process, how is it undertaken? How does one know that they have qualified in relation maybe to the government procurement opportunities or government procurement chances? So I think, Kagi, and I believe this is really going to be very, very enlightening to our viewer, especially those who would like to benefit from this particular conversation. It's going to be very, very good. And of course, what we've talked about, the laws pertaining to public procurement, I think this is where now we'll really even want now to find out, as far as the Legal Tuesday is concerned, what are some of those laws that are specific to this particular subject, and of course what you need to know as far as they are concerned, Kagi.
Yes, and there are many people maybe who are asking, how do you procure? And I believe, because we have the lecturer in the house, that the procurement goes hand in hand with tenders. And when you hear a tender, you know there was a procurement process that took place at that point. And maybe you have been wondering, how do I maybe secure a tender in a government institution or in a public office? How do I secure a tender? Basically, that is how we shall be doing our program today. But you can also tell us, is Kenya doing well in procurings? Is Kenya doing well in procurings and tendering? Is our question today. Our good SMS number is 23814. And also we have 0721 105 105 is our SMS number. I know we have our current legal issues in Mangicho. Yes. We are going to handle that. Just before we go to today's current legal issues, we have one legal issue which is here. We are going to discuss before then. It's good to invite Mr. Kenneth Milgo to our studio. Karibu sana katika MBCI TV. Yes. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Mangicho is there.
Good. Karibu sana. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Yes. Welcome to MBCI TV.
Thank you.
As we talk about maybe the procurement laws, maybe in 1 minute, viewers want to know you.
Okay, my name is Mr. Kenneth Milgo. I am a lecturer at the African Institute of Research and Development, Nakuru campus, and I'm in charge of handling the procurement department, and anything regarding to procurement, that is my area.
Beautiful.
Yes.
We shall be talking much about that. But before then, Mangicho, yes. There was one legal issue. I feel that we can be able to see how it worked. Yes. It reads that a man told to pay neighbor for his sentiment that bring down latrine for HIV remarks. This is a story of a person who was hosting a delegation in her home, a woman who had some visitors at her home. And right behind her house, a neighbor was constructing a latrine. not constructing rather, was digging a latrine. And the woman felt that the digging of the latrine was very disturbing, it was very dusty, it was getting into the house. And the woman went to meet the neighbor and told the neighbor, kindly, please, can you help us to be able to stop this digging because it's disrupting us, it is bringing dust in our house. And this neighbor was irritated by the request by the woman. And this man told him, why are you worried about the dust? And I know in some few months to come, you are dying of HIV and AIDS. And this woman felt so much her rights were intruded by this man. And there was disrespect. And this woman decided to take some complaints to what they call the HIV and AIDS Tribunal. And the tribunal took up the matter. It went through the legal process. Luckily, the neighbors in the woman's house heard about the alterations between the man and the woman. And as we are speaking right now, because this happened the year 2020-23, the case was concluded a few days ago, and the man was ordered to pay 500,000 shillings for what he did to this woman. Mm-hmm. And the woman said that through these sentiments, the woman is so much traumatized, okay. Right? Mm-hmm. And I wish people could know, Mangicho, how serious it is when you are maybe trying to diminish someone because of his ailment. Or even when you go to the hospitals, the doctors are not allowed to disclose anybody's health status, especially for such kind of diseases.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that is it's quite heavy, Kagi, just as you've put it. And I think we've ever talked in this particular show about rights of privacy. And it's very, very important because that one is tantamount to actually infringing on her rights. And of course, you can also think about the kind of torture that kind of information is really going to do, or the kind of trouble is actually going to make that particular woman suffer as a result of that particular statement, or as a result of that particular expression. So I think it's a ruling that is really going maybe to set a precedence in terms of how maybe people, the public, and people really need to ensure that they treat others with dignity, regardless maybe of their status, their health status, and so on and so forth. Even if maybe one is affected or infected with such maybe a particular ailment, there is still some rights that belongs to them and they need to enjoy, irrespective maybe of who they are, where they are, and maybe what maybe they do in the society.
Yes, and the defendant or this man was ordered by court and his family never to use that latrine again. And the area chief was ordered to supervise the demolition of that latrine. And this was the defendant of them, as the court said, that the respondent had no right to talk about or disclose this information about the woman without authority of the claimant, who is the woman now. Failure to respect what you are saying now, this privacy is violation of person's right to privacy as provided by Section 22 of HIV and AIDS Prevention Control in Kazia Tribunal. So, Sawa. So welcome back again to our Legal Tuesday. Today we're talking about procurement laws. And you have any question regarding to procurement or tendering, maybe you have ever applied for tender, which must go through the procurement process, and maybe you felt that it was not done the right way. You can share with us today, maybe where you found some reservations, and our SMS number is 23814, or WhatsApp number 0721105105. Now, Mr. Milgo, I think now we can go deeper to the topic. I know you are in the field of procurement.
Yes.
And even before we go too far, for the sake of our audience who is watching us right now, when you're talking about procurement exactly in a layman, what are you talking about?
So when we talk about procurement in a layman's language, basically it's about obtaining goods and services from external sources, because organizations or any entity, for it to run, They need one thing or the other for the organizations to run on a daily basis. So they need, could be if it is a production industry, they need raw materials. Could be if it is maybe a just normal farm, maybe they need stationery, they need anything. So for things to be obtained in a fair manner, in a competitive manner and in a cost-effective manner, they have to go through the procurement process so that you can obtain the quality that you need. You can obtain it in the most cost-effective manner, so that at the end of the day, if you are intending maybe to produce the finished product and sell it at a fair price, then you go to the raw materials at a fair price. Yeah. If you are doing if you are using stationaries, you get the best quality, you get the best cost, and in a competitive way. Yes.
So for the procurement office, we have a standing procurement office. It must be a standalone office to be able to run.
Okay, it depends. It depends with the different organizations. In every organization, we have two types. We have what we call centralized procurement, and we have decentralized procurement.
Right.
Centralized procurement is where there is one department, specific departments that deals with the procurement on behalf of the other functions of the organization. And then we have decentralized, depending if it is a big organization, could be it has different branches, so they can procure individually, or other departments can procure individually. So it depends on the size of the organization and of course the needs of the organization as well. Yes.
So the procurement office is both embraced in a public and private institutions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So in the public sector, of course, they are guided by the PEPRA, or the Public Procurement Regulations Authority, which gives the regulations on how things are supposed to be conducted. And when it comes to public sector, it is stringent and it is strict. Yes. But when it comes to the private sector, of course, they just follow the normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mangicho, I think we take a short break. When you're coming back, we'll pick it from there.
Very good.
Just to remind you, this is a Legal Tuesday. We have Mangicho Mola and me, I'm Paul Kagi, and we have Mr. Kenneth Milgo, who is our guest today, talking about the procurement laws. If you have a question to us, you can ask via 23814 or 0721-105-105. Right? Don't go too far. We are here for you. We are asking you, is Kenya doing well in the procurement laws? Don't go too far. We'll be right back after.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Baba ya Abraham kwa Biblia alikuwa anaitwa nani?
Baba ya Abraham. Joseph. Joseph.
Nataka kuambia mtu kwa Kizungu, nimeshtukia nimefika. Utamwambia je kwa Kizungu?
Gai neda Kenya.
Hebu rudia kidogo.
Gai neda Kenya.
Asio hizo ndo gani sasa? Najua
SUV inamaanisha nini?
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
United States Vehicle.
What did I hear?
United States Vehicle.
Nipatie spelling ya neno oesophagus.
E-O-U-S-E-G-O-U-R.
Rudia tena.
E-O-U-S-G-E-U-G-E-O-U-S.
My name is Lucy Maina, CEO, Lyle Safaris. Okay, I did mass communication and journalism back in JKUAT.
Yes.
So I have zero background on tours. But because I've been so passionate, I have had to attend some classes from industry experts.
Yeah.
And also sign up for online classes.
Wow.
We do inbound and outbound.
Yeah.
Inbound, that is clients who are coming in. Outbound is clients who are going out. And then I travel quite a lot. So I've been to Zanzibar severally.
Wow.
So when I go there, I don't really go for holiday. I also go for business.
Hi there, my name is Perpetual Nyambura and I love cooking. We all love art and we all love good food.
Yeah, ukiwa na passion ya upishi.
Yes, yes.
Hii inasaidia sana. Kwa sababu kuna watu hupika just for the sake.
Mlo Wetu introduces you to creativity in meal preparation. Don't miss a fresh episode of Mlo Wetu.
Kila Alhamisi 7:30 to 8 p.m.
Marudio yake iko hapa, that is Friday from 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. only on MBCI TV.
Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo katika uchumi wa kitaifa. Akili Shambani inakufunza mbinu mbalimbali za kilimo cha mimea na ufugaji. Tunavuka milima na mabonde kukuelimisha mengi kuhusu ubunifu na teknolojia katika kilimo. Yote 9, 10 ni masoko, nayo je?
Tunahusika na mkulima kutoka kwa shamba hadi sokoni.
Fahamu haya na mengine mengi kuhusu kilimo kwenye Akili Shambani kila Jumatano saa 1:30 usiku, ukiletewa nami Enaeli Mlinga.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Okay, welcome back once again for the Legal Tuesday, and today we are talking about procurement laws. And I want to simplify by saying that if you have ever sent a tender somewhere, it must go through what we call the procurement, especially for the public institution. And therefore, if you have anything that you want to know about this, you can talk to us today via our SMS number 23814 or 0721-105-105. But we are also asking you, is Kenya doing well in procuring? But before we go too far, we have a skit regarding the same. You can watch this as we give our views on the following skit. Watch this.
Hakuna mahindi. Mahindi nimebaki hata ni kilo 5 haiwezi katosha. Haiwezi katosha kesho. Na nikijaribu kupigia supplier hashukui.
Hebu let's go slow. Umesema nini?
Ninakwambia mahindi imeisha na supplier hashukui simu.
Mahindi imeisha. Unga ya leo iko.
Ya leo tu na lunch lakini hakuna ingine.
After that hatuna unga. But the supply is supposed to bring today.
But she's not picking his calls.
Umempigia?
Yes.
Hebu nimpigie. Na si ndiye huyu?
Yeah, we highly apologize for that technical hitch regarding to our voice there, but we just continue. Mangicho, you see, even though we didn't hear what they were saying, but this is very common in our institutions. I guess that is a principal who is following up on the issue of how to supply maize and beans and whatever for the institution. It is a very common issue.
It's a common issue, and it's quite a very tricky situation, and also maybe very unfortunate, because I think she was being informed that the maize flour is almost finished.
In the 11th hour.
In the 11th hour. And I think she was reporting that, I don't know, the supplier was not picking the phone or something like that. So you can imagine the kind of a situation in which they are in. And I think maybe our guest will tell us. I wish we could have seen the whole of it, but maybe we are going to rectify that technical bit. But I think that is part of also what we are going to talk about, so that we also find out maybe when one let's say, for example, maybe this was a procurement process that was actually done, and maybe this supplier ended up qualifying for this particular tender. Maybe what needs to be done to ensure that maybe we don't have a recurring of that kind of a situation. Yeah.
And I believe, Milgo, this is a very common scenario in our institutions, whether private or public. Maybe you can open our eyes on in our institutions, how is it being done?
Before I go even to the procurement process, I could tell what was going on there. Yes, probably they were not able to get information earlier that flour was almost running out, and therefore there is a hitch that is going to happen in that institution. So this is due to lack of maybe they do not have a good procurement officer who checks on the needs of the organization from time to time. You see, for an organization to run effectively, there needs to be a procurement officer who knows when the stock is yet to run out, is almost to run out, and when supply needs to be brought before time. Yes. And then there is also another issue when it comes to the tendering process, that maybe they did not check properly with the finances of the supplier. You see, before you are awarded a tender, there are certain specifications that the supplier needs to meet. The specifications of the product, and more especially the finances. Is this supplier capable of supplying for this duration of time? Maybe the supplier has run out of finances. And you know, sometimes when it comes to public procurement, sometimes the government is late in paying up for the costs of the contract, and therefore you as a supplier, you are supposed to provide even as you wait to be paid.
How can you certify the capability of a supplier to do that job?
Yes, these suppliers are normally registered. They are normally registered by the Kenya Institute of Supply Management. Yes, and therefore for any institution, before even you get to contract this person, there is the tendering process where you invite these people to come and apply for the tender, and they'll come with their documents, including the license, the license from the supply authority. They'll have the license, and then after that you'll have to check with the quality of the product. Of course, they'll come up with samples, and then they'll come up also with their financial statements with the bank to ensure that if I'm giving this person a contract for 6 months or a contract for 1 year, from my needs as an institution, is this person able to deliver for that 1 year? Because sometimes the finances are late. Okay, so is this person able to deliver even when my finances are late? Yes.
Magicho, before we continue, I think that bit that remained for the drama, I think we can be able to see at the end of that drama.
That's okay.
If the director, you are ready, you can do that for us, please.
Serikali hajatulipa. We are waiting for that money, na immediately pesa hizo zikiingia tutakulipa, na unajua huwa tunakulipa, but for now we don't have. What do we do?
Sasa
nitafanya nini?
Madam, itakuwa
hapa itabidi tutasaidiana, Dennis, because what am I gonna do?
Sasa
watoto watakanja, tutaambia watoto hakuna chakula. Is that possible really?
Hatuwezi. Hata mimi unajua nina roho ya watoto sana, na napenda watoto sana, na siwezi kufurahia nikisikia wana njaa. Lakini nitafanyaje? Lazima niwe na fedha za kununua mahindi. Sina.
Hakuna vile utaweza tusaidia. Hakuna mahali utaweza tafuta tu pesa utulete tu mahindi. At least watoto wakule, Dennis, surely.
Na wadai miezi kadhaa kutoka mwaka uliopita, hamjalipa. That's a lot of money, millions. Utafanyaje?
Dennis, I understand. Huwa tuko na records na nimeangalia records. Actually, it's close to 2M. But what do I do? Hatuna hizo pesa. Serikali haijatupea pesa.
Nimekwama sana, madam. Ukiniona nimekuja hapa, si mimi kutumia tu mzigo.
Sasa bwana Dennis, there is nothing I can do.
So, madam, mali imefika sasa. Ni pesa tu naweza taka, hakuna kitu kingine. Ukitaka usaidizi wangu, ulete fedha.
Nami fedha sina. I've told you here once more, I'm telling you.
Basi sioni vile.
Serikali hijatupa pesa.
Sioni vile tunasaidiana madam. Sioni. Haitafanya kazi hiyo. Na hatuwezi endelea hivi.
So, sasa itakuwa hivi.
Itabidi.
Right. Mangicho, I'm really feeling for the principal. Yeah.
So the principal is actually, she's really trying to plead with the supplier to actually just ensure that he continues maybe to supply the maize flour for the children. Maybe also trying to assure her that he's going to receive the payment.
The payment, yeah.
But it's like the supplier is also tired. I think maybe he's experienced this for long. And I think that is a very, very interesting part, Kage, because
yes,
I think this is something we've even seen in our news stories, in our headlines and even in the media, of where some of these suppliers have actually complained. Some of them have even gone on demonstration that we've not been paid our dues. So we'd like to know, even from our guest, when now you as a supplier, you are coming into this agreement, you're coming into this contract with the government, are there specifications of the timelines into which maybe you as a supplier should have been paid, failure to which, what action can you take?
Yes. When it comes
in relation to what we've seen.
Yes, in relation to what I've seen, could be the government is late with the dues of the supplier. And so what can be done in this situation? During the tendering process, I believe when this person is coming to present his documents, first of all, I talked about the finances part. The finances part is very important to ensure that this person is able at least to last a while. You know, for a government to provide the finances, at least this person should be able to supply you for at least 1 year before the next budget is read, because I believe maybe the government provided finances, but the finances were not enough.
To supply for 1 year without payment?
Yes, it is possible. Even some people supply for 2 years. I believe you heard what he said, that I've been supplying for since last year to this year, you see. Yes, but again, there is something called supply relationship. Yes, at the end of the tendering process, you should be able to do follow-up. Follow up with the supplier. What kind of a relationship have you built with the supplier? Does this supplier understand where your money comes from? Does he or she understand the need of the institution?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe if you discuss with the supplier prior, even before that that situation happens, maybe there could be a way. Maybe the dues could be paid maybe half. Before the government finances come in.
Yes. Sure, yeah, thank you. I know we've gone quite ahead. We'll still come to that. Yes. But let's just go a little bit back, Bwana Kenneth, because especially for public procurement, where does it begin from? Because you'll hear that some people say maybe they didn't even know that there was this tender that maybe was given.
Okay, so it begins from what we call needs assessment. Needs assessment, where the organization itself get to, through the supplier or the purchasing department, get to know what are the needs of the organization, and then maybe they put them down, and then they present them to the management, and then the management will decide which one is they'll come up with a priority list, and then decide which one do we need most, which one we don't need. And then when they approve, the procurement planning begins. Like, do we have the finances from the budget? If it is a public institution, of course, they depend on the budget from the government. Yes, like, do we have the finances to be able to sustain the needs of this organization? If the needs are within the budget, then it will be approved. Okay, and when it is approved, then they will do what we call invitation tender through either the Public Procurement Regulations Authority website or through the newspapers or through the media. Okay? And then when they put it out there, then people will, the suppliers who feel that they meet the specifications of the product and the finances, then they will apply.
What are some of the basic specifications that?
Basic specifications is, of course, first of all, you have to be able to supply whatever product they are asking for. Okay. Yes. If it is, for example, maize, of course, you should have enough maize, or wherever you are getting it from should be enough to be able to supply that institution. You also look at the quality and the cost. Okay, the cost. Of course, the cost part will come where you give what you give the cost that you are selling at, so that the institution will decide whether they'll invite you, to discuss on matters cost. Yes.
What should that's a very interesting area,
because everyone
should come what should be really looked into when you are determining the cost.
Yes, of course, the production, the production cost from the farmer, if you are the farmer yourself, or if you are buying from the farmer. So you need to look at the logistics. You need to look at how much you are buying from the farmer, if it is the maize, how much will it cost you to take it to that company, and then of course your profit. You cannot be doing some work without profit. You also have to look at your profit. You also have to look at how much do you have, and how much can it last if you supply this person. If this person is looking for a tender of 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, can you be able to sustain it? Okay.
Sometimes you can be locked out for quoting maybe way too high.
Way too yes, exactly. And a lot of people have had problems with the law because of either sometimes they come with fake bank statements. Maybe they meet a politician will give them their bank statement. They are not able to deliver. Yes. Okay, so this person will tell you, I'm capable of delivering you for 1 year, but the truth be told, maybe they are only capable for 3 months or for 4 months, and then yes. They'll start now coming with that issue that, like, I don't have any money, there is nothing we can do, you see. But there is a contract that has been signed. Right. So this supplier needs to be taken to court.
Before we dig deeper to that, we also, Mr. Kenneth, had time to talk to public regarding to their views on these procurement laws, and let's have a look at this now.
Naam, Mangicho pamoja na Paul tuko hapa mitaani, tunazidi kutembea sehemu kote kote nchini Kenya ili kuweza kuuliza Wakenya kuhusu maasala tofauti na mijadala ambayo tunaibua kuhusu jinsi nchi ya Kenya au taifa inazidi kusonga mbele. Kumbuka leo tumekuja hapa mitaani ili kuweza kuuliza, je, unadhani kwamba serikali ya Kenya au nchi hii, taifa hili tukufu, lina mikakati kabambe ya kuweza kupeana kandarasi? Tunataka kusikia kutoka kwa Wakenya iwapo wanahisi kwamba taifa hili lina mipango na mikakati maalum ya kuweza kupeana kandarasi hizo.
Sikia nikwambia kitu moja. Wananchi wa Kenya kwanza wamechoka, kwa sababu hii kandarasi zinapeanwa, especially hii barabara zinapeanagwa kulingana na vile watu wanajuana. Kuna pesa inatengwa ya serikali ya CDF. Kama ni ile mbunge yako anapeana kulingana na vile anafanya nini, anajua. Sasa kama kusema ukweli, naongea saa hizi, naongea kuhusu mambo ya hapa. Hiyo hakuna kijana ya hapa hata mmoja ameandikwa kujenga nini, kujenga hizo nyumba. Imeletwa watu ya kutoka Nakuru, watu wa kutoka Naivasha, watu wa kutoka Nyandarua, na vijana wetu hapa hawana kazi. Hizi kandarasi haipeani kwa njia ile inarengana na wananchi kutaka, ama ile wananchi wanataka. Inapeanwa kulingana na vile wale wanapeana kandarasi, kama ni county government, kama ni ya national government, vile wanapeana mambo na kujuana. Yeah.
Na katika serikali yetu, labda other counties wako na mipango mizuri, lakini hapa kwetu kandarasi bado hata ijatufikia vile inavyotakikana. Kitu cha pili, kandarasi nyingi ambazo zinatokea katika government yetu, hizi kandarasi hazifikiagi vijana ambao wako mashinani na criteria ambayo inatumika. Kwa sababu huwezi kuja kama MCA, MP, ukuje useme kwa community, unajua the whole community. Use the people wenye wako kwa community. Watumie watu kama chiefs, watumie watu kama sasa CHPs, hao ndo wanajua even the vulnerable homes na watoto ambao wamemaliza shule wako nyumbani hawana kazi. Otherwise tunaendaga tunakuta other people wenye sio wa communities zetu ndio wanafanya kazi na wana pick a few number ya kufunika. Ndio wale ambao wameletwa wasionekane, but if inawezekana waeke criteria ambayo itahusisha kama ni nyumba 10, kama ni chief, kama ni CHPs, those people who are in the community are the ones who knows their problem. So serikali ikiweza tumia hiyo mbinu inaweza kuwa afadhali vizuri. Alafu pia ikuwe na watu ambao wana monitor ni wenye wako kwa hiyo maybe hiyo county ama hiyo sub county ama in the community. At least ndio wanaweza kujua kama ni ukweli ni vijana wetu wenye wako kwa community zetu wanafanya kazi ama ni vijana wa community zingine wameletwa, kwa sababu even in the community we know ourselves. Ninajua ni kijana wa nyumba ya fulani, ni nyumba fulani, hii ni nyumba fulani. Na wakati ninaenda kazi zikiwa zinafanyika, I will identify huyu simjui, huyu simjui, huyu simjui. So it is good if at all they can have a good criteria. Ndio vijana wetu waweze hata wao kupata kazi katika county yao. At least they should benefit from their home. Lakini si kandarasi ziletwe tu na hata wenye unasikianga tu kandarasi iliisha na hata ujui iliisha kivipi.
Unajua mimi chenye naweza sema, kitu cha kwanza kuna hizi tenda ambazo huwa zinapeana. Mostly kuna hizi za watu wenye living with disabilities. Ukiangalia watu kama hao, mostly utakuta hata watu wenye wanaangaliwa ni watu wenye wanajulikana hapa chini, hata kama ni hiyo mipango ya serikali. Unakuta mostly watu wenye wako chini ama wako ground hapa huwa waangaliwi. Ukiangalia kama sisi watu wa huku hatupewe first priority, tena zinapeana kutoka juu. Kitambo ufikishe zile condition wanapeana ile mikakati, uambiwe ni ngumu sana by the way. Kupa hiyo mikakati iko ngumu sana, huwezi timiza. Sababu mimi nimeenda kama hapa NYS tukaangalia tuka apply hiyo mambo ya matenda, unapewa kitabu kingine kubwa iko na pages kama 200, lazima utimize hizi. So mostly unakuta wengi watu wanawapewa hizo tenda ndio watu wenye wametoka mbali na watu wenye wanajulikana. So watu wa kawaida huwa wapeani, lazima wanakuja ground. Kama sasa venye nyinyi mmekuja mnauliza watu, mnahoji watu ama hiyo serikali inauliza watu wenye wanaweza wasiweke zile conditions za juu ama ile mikakati ya juu yenye sisi hatuwezi jimudu, unaona. So wanastahili kuweka ile kama ni kitu kama vitu zile watu wa chini tunaweza supply kwa serikali ama nini, lakini si watu weke ile ni ya juu.
Mimi vile kwa maoni yangu ninaona ya kwamba tenda hizi asipeane kwa njia ambayo inastahili. Maana tukisema kwamba ni kusaidia wananchi ama ni kufanya mtu awe yule mtu ambaye anasaidika katika maisha, tenda sinafaa kupeanwa kwa yule mtu ambaye pia ako na kasi yake ama amejitolea katika siku atafute ile kitu ya kukula. Kwa ile tenda ambazo sinapeanwa asipeanwe kwa njia ambayo sinastahili. Sinapeanwa katika hali ya kujuana. Wewe kama uko katika serikali unatafuta mtu wako, unampea hiyo tenda, na kuna mwingine ambaye anangoja hana hiyo connection lakini anapata hiyo tenda, anakosa hiyo tenda na anastahili. Kwa hivyo wale ambao wako nayo unakuta, ndio maana tunasema kwamba Kenya matajiri wanaendelea kuwa tajiri, maskini wanaendelea. Maana wewe tayari uko na slot yako unakula, lakini bado unataka kuweka mkono pale ndio mtu wako apate. Kwa hivyo inafaa kupeanwa randomly, sio kwa kuchagua mtu fulani ambaye unamjua. Inafaa unatangaza tenda na unafanya haki katika kukagua wale ambao wanastahili hiyo tenda. Kwa hivyo mimi naona kwamba badala ipeanwe kwa wale watu ambao wanajuana, ipeanwe katika random. Tenda itangazwe katika portal ya serikali na iwekwe wazi. Maana unasakuta kuna tenda imetokea mahali lakini ni watu kadhaa wanajua, na ni watu ambaye ni wenye nguvu ama wanajuana na mwenye anapeana. Kwa hivyo ikipeanwa tenda, wapeane tenda kulingana na kuwe na uasi katika kuchukua wale ambayo wako na tenda. Kama ni kufanya interview ama ni kukagua yale mambo ambayo yanatakikana, ipeanwe katika njia ambaye ni ya uasi. Maana shida ni uasi, hakuna uasi. Maana mimi nikijua kuna tenda mahali, kama sina nguvu ya kufikia yule anayepeana, sitapata.
Mimi sio hata kudhani, reality on the ground ni kwamba inapeanwa kwa kulingana vile mtu ako na connection. Unatoka tribe gani, wewe mnajua naje na nani, na mwenye kutoa contract kama ni governor. Na tuseme wengi wa watu vijana hawajui hata hiyo tenda inaapuraiwa namna gani. They don't know. Hawana access ya tuseme Kenya Gazette. Hiyo maneno wenye wanajua ni wale wako kwa ofisi peke yao. Inafaa itangaswe kila mahali. Hizo matenda in the first place hawatangasi vile inafaa. Inafaa sasa watoe hata maposters. Kuna tenda fulani na wakati wa kuchukua ikuwe na uasi. Sio ati kusikia fulani alipewa tenda na hata hakuapurae. Kwa sababu saa ingine hizo tenda huwa hata kabla haijakuwa applied kuna wenye wamepewa tayari. Na hivyo ndivyo inaendaga.
Upeanaji wa kandarasi katika taifa hili ningesema hata juzi, unajua tuko na turununu, hata kama hatuendi bali sana tunaangalia turununu kidogo kidogo. Mimi nasikia ati matenda ingine inatoka Wasinigishu, mtu wa Wasinigishu anakuja kupewa kandarasi hapa Girigiri, mtu wa tuseme wa Kabeguria anaenda kupewa kandarasi Nairobi. Mtu ya huko inatakiwa yani watu wajumuishwe, kukiwa na kandarasi, kuwe na public participation, watu wachangie, tujue ni Ole Kaituku amepewa order ama ni Maina ama ni Grace ama ni Unyango, lakini Grace hakuwe wa hiyo eneo. Sasa hivyo mimi ndio ningeomba tu.
Alright, there we go. Hivyo ndivyo wananchi wanavyosema kuhusu mambo. Na wananchi wana habari bwana. Wakenya wameelimika hii maneno.
Wanajua haki zao.
Wanajua haki zao.
Yeah, but Kagi, and I think our guest is going to communicate to tell us about these, even as it maybe contributes to what maybe you think, Bwana Kenneth, about what Kenyans are really thinking about. But I think the main issue is about so many people feeling that there is no, what we can call fairness when it comes to awarding.
Yes.
So you'll help us get into understanding maybe what really goes into awarding for us to get the person who qualifies maybe to carry out or maybe to take a particular tender. But then I've had those who have also talked about the kind of detailed requirement that one maybe needs to have, even for them maybe to actually go through that particular process of being vetted to qualify maybe for getting a particular tender. What is the kind of documentation that is needed?
First, I will go into the components of procurement first before I go to your question. That the Public Procurement Act 2015, which was also revised 2016 and 2022, focuses on fairness and equity. We also have what we call reservations, that is for the women, for the youths and people with disability, and also sanctions, contractual sanctions for those suppliers who do not meet the contractual obligations of whoever awarded them the tender. Now, when it comes to the specifications, when it comes to, for example, public tenders, I said number one is the license, okay? The license to be able to supply. So you should be able to have the license. You should be registered, of course, probably as a company, yes, to make it easier for you to procure with the government. Okay. Yes, so you should be registered by the Register of Companies. Number three, you should be able to provide financial evidence that you're able to service that contract that you are seeking. I think those are the basic.
When you're talking about that financial evidence, now, especially maybe even speaking maybe for so many of Kenyans, maybe who would not maybe have gotten maybe an experience that can maybe help them to have that big muscle as far as financial capacity is concerned?
When you look into this invitation to tender, I normally go through them with the newspapers. They normally specify. And you get 200,000, 300,000, 100,000, up to maybe 1.5 million. And you see, when you have a company, I think this should help the youth and women, especially the women. They have got chamas. They have got chamas, and I believe when you have a chama that has been going on for a while, maybe you can be able to raise maybe 200 or 300,000. Yes, and therefore you will have that statement to be able to defend yourself when it comes to this tender. Maybe you could have the maize. You could have whatever needs to be supplied, but you don't have that evidence. But if you are in these groups, then you are able to provide the evidence that is needed. Unfortunately, in Kenya, you cannot be awarded the tender if you don't have that evidence. Yes, because problems will arise, just like with the principal. Problems will arise where the government has not been able to provide the money, and you are stuck in between. You are stuck in between. Production has to continue. If it is in a school, the school has to run. It cannot stop. Yes, and you know, this supplier signed a contract, and this contract is binding. It is binding on the part of the supplier, because he signed that I'll be able to provide for this duration of time. And then when you're signing this contract again, there is normally that time that you have agreed with the person or the organization who have awarded you the tender that will be paying after either weekly, either monthly, after maybe quarterly, after every 3 months, or after every 6 months. That is when we'll be paying. Then when now they don't pay after 3 months, they have not paid after 6 months, then you can take them to court using the contract as evidence. You see, but now when you don't have now that financial muscle to be able to last that 3 months, then how can you be able to? Wow. You see, it will be a problem even for the person awarding you the tender.
Yeah, and when you're talking about the nature of your company, does does a particular company have maybe to be inclined to maybe a particular area?
No. I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so. As long as you have that capability and you are registered as a company, you are good to go. So you just need to look for the license to be registered, because you need to be at the database, the government database, so that just in case of any problem, you see, government works with regulations. If there is any problem, when they go to the Public Procurement Regulations Authority, then they can be able to recognize you and say, we know this company is registered with us. So that in case, I talked about sanctions as one of the components, so that in case there is a problem with the supplier, then this Regulations Authority can be able to withdraw your license. Okay, so if you are an unknown person to the government, then there is no way you are going to procure with government, because they do not recognize you. You are not in their database. And it doesn't mean really that you have to be a big person in government. If you are just registered with them, then they can look into the system and say, okay, this is a supplier and is registered. Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, maybe these big people normally register. They do registration, a lot of companies, and then they use those companies to procure with government.
Yes. I know we are about to listen to what we call the landmark ruling, and today we will be talking about the issue of the Israel and Hamas, whereby Israel is highly accused of the human rights activities in Hamas. We have a very good landmark ruling on that. When you come back, Mr. Kenneth, I want to understand whether a supplier can supply everything, or we have different categories of suppliers. For example, if my job is just to supply, can I supply any tender which has been posted? Maybe when we come back. But for now, we want to hear to this landmark ruling on Israel and Hamas.
Life that would bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part.
On 20th of January 2024, the court ruled on the number of interim steps which South Africa had asked it to take against Israel. The key request was for the court to order Israel to immediately halt operations in Gaza, but the court did not uphold this.
For these reasons, the court, by 13 votes to 2, reaffirms.
Mangicho, the director, is concerned. Why this judge is very old?
Maybe it's because of the experience that needs to come with the kind of ruling that they're supposed to give.
Yeah, it's the only profession where, especially in Kenya, yes, a judge retires at a maximum of 72 years. Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah. And they are still sound and good in executing legal matters.
Exactly. I think they take a lot of their time in terms of maybe even the study, in terms of the research. So for them actually to come up with maybe the kind of judgments that we see, it's because maybe of the kind of background that maybe they've had. But I'm actually very much interested with that kind of undertaking there, because Kagi, the kind of what we've been seeing emanating from Israel and Hamas
there's a lot of human rights violations in those areas.
Crimes against humanity at very, very grave levels. So we're just hoping that maybe we are going to see some sort of justice as far as this particular court is concerned.
And there seems to be a very deliberate move by the ICC and the ICJ, the International Criminal Justice, and the International Criminal Court, Netherlands in Hague, to be able to deal with Benjamin Netanyahu, the PM for Israel, for what is happening in Hamas at this time.
Sure, because we've lost so many innocent people. Yeah, you see when it comes now to maybe the political, or maybe the political divide, it should not really result maybe to what we've seen or what we've been seeing, the crimes against humanity, people just being killed, very innocent, the displacement of others, the destruction of property at very massive levels.
There is also a lot of human rights violations in Africa, especially in Congo, an issue which I think is also being followed closely to see that everybody's human rights are being protected.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. I think before we reback on the topic, you can also give us today's what we call the legal profiling, whereby, Mr. Kenneth, we profile some legal minds in our country to understand where they have come from and where they are today. Yeah.
Absolutely, and of course, this is that particular segment where we give you and bring you a particular legal personality. Maybe for one reason or another, they've stood out in terms maybe of what they've been able to do in their legal discourse. And of course, Kagi, I know the personality today is very, very common and very prominent as far as the legal corridors is concerned. And our focus is on lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi. Of course, he's a senior counsel with over 2 decades of experience. Clients include multinational corporations, parastatals, constitution bodies, etc. Some of these have actually been clients to Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi and, of course, the company he works for. He is a former Dean School of Law at the University of Nairobi, and he has been a member of the Judicial Service Commission, JSC, in Kenya. He's also a master. He does very well in matters to do with litigation and arbitration. So he's a master in that particular area, litigation and arbitration. We have got quite a number of other highlights about Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi. He played a crucial step in recruitment of judges of the Supreme Court. So when the judges of the Supreme Court were being recruited for the very first time in the country, he played a very pertinent role. He successfully represented IEBC in the 2012 general elections petition. And of course, back then when we had CORD had taken IEBC to court, he was the advocate for the IEBC. He is the publisher of the famous Nairobi Law Monthly magazine that is published monthly. He is actually the publisher of that particular magazine. And is also a lead counsel for the Office of the President. He was actually a lead counsel for the Office of the President in the Waki Commission investigating 2007 post-election violence. So he played also a very, very crucial role during that particular time. Lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi is also was also at one particular point the chairman of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Advisory Board, specifically 2003 to 2004. He was the chairman of the Kenya Anti-Corruption and Advisory Board between the year 2003 and 2004. That is Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi Kagi, of course, a very prominent lawyer.
Yeah, he is a very prominent senior counsel in our country.
Yeah.
And he is very known for his vibrant litigations in our courts. And
and I remember very recently, I think he had a spat with the judges of the Supreme Court because of some of the tweets that he made, or he had actually been making, and it ended up to cost him because the judges of the Supreme Court ruled that they were not going to welcome him to actually represent any case at the Supreme Court level.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was a very big bang for him because that is where most of his cases end up.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he's well learned. So many people, so many clients actually love him. I think his history is that he's actually seen a lot of cases that he has actually handled having success.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, we desire to be able to talk about the contracts with state and public officers, which I think Mr. Kenneth is going to comment on this, about the contracts with state and public officers. And if Director, you're ready, you can give us that presentation. Briefly, we look at the contracts with state and public officers in our republic, whereby a state officer or a public officer shall not award or influence the award of contract. And of course, we know that with the public officers, you're supposed to keep away from any contracts from any public office. And therefore, the law says that they should not influence the award of contracts to himself or herself, right? So if you, as a public officer, you're not supposed to award any contract to yourself in any case. The other one, the state officers or public officer's spouse or child. You're working in a public office, there is a tender somewhere, it is unlawful for you to be able to award your spouse or your child that tender. It's illegal. The other one, as a public officer, you're not supposed to award any tender to your business associate or agent or your company. Is just illegal. The other one that is being barred from maybe showing the procurement or awarding as a public officer is you cannot do that to a corporation, private company, partnership, or anybody in which the officer has a substantial or controlling interest, whereby you're having a conflict of interest is not allowed. Also, a state organ or public entity shall not enter into a contract for a procurement with. The first one is a public officer or a state officer or a member of a committee or board of that state organ or public entity. Is that board that maybe verify the issue of the procurement. It is illegal to be able to award a member of that body, also an officer of that public entity or a state organ. As we continue, a state officer or public officer who has an interest in a matter under consideration in a public procurement or asset disposal shall disclose in writing the nature of interest. If there is any kind of interest, you're supposed to disclose that nature of interest in writing, and shall not participate in any procurement or asset disposal relating to the interest. And then finally, the specific requirements shall include the procuring entity's technical requirements with respect to goods, works, and services being procured. You're supposed to disclose and ensure that all the requirements for the goods, work, and services are in good order. Now, finally, we talk about the eligibility to bid. If you want to procure, what are the legal requirements? The person has the legal capacity to enter into contract or procurement or asset disposal. Mr. Kenneth has just spoken about that. The person is not insolvent, in receivership, bankrupt, or in the process of being wounded up. Let's talk about your capability, your financial capability. The person is a member of regulated profession, has satisfied all the professional requirement. I think, Kenneth, here you elaborate on that, that a person is a member of regulated profession, has satisfied all the professional requirements for you to be able to qualify to procure. And then maybe the last bit, is that the person and his or her subcontractor, you want to procure, you have your company, you have subcontractors, if any, is not debarred from participating in procurement processing, and the person has fulfilled tax obligations. If you want to qualify to get a procurement or a tender, you have to fulfill all the tax obligations. And the last one, the person has not been convicted of corrupt or fraudulent practices. The person has not been convicted of any corrupt or fraudulent practices. That is the end of procurement laws under my presentation.
I think that was quite detailed, Kage. It's very, very important for people to be in a position to know. So maybe I'm thinking, because actually this, Bwana Kenneth, really revolves around when you talk about the awarding. What maybe are some of the issues that really make most Kenyans? Because even as you can remember when you were watching the interviews by our reporter who was interviewing most of the Kenyans, believe that there is no fairness when it comes now maybe to those who are being awarded. Is it a misconception, or do we have some gaps that maybe you think, even coming from your expertise in procurement, that really
yes, according to me, I believe there are gaps, especially when it comes to the issue of corruption. Yes, the issue of corruption is a major issue when it comes to procurement. For example, you just talked about public officers not being eligible to bid. Yes, but the truth of
so if you're a public officer, civil servant,
yes. But the truth of the matter is that they are involved in every process. Some of the companies that apply for the bids, they are the owners, although they register them with either.
So they use proxy.
Yes, they use proxy. They register proxy companies, and they are the first ones to be able to apply before even it comes out to Kenyans to be able to apply. It's already gone.
And it's hard to know that they are there?
Yes, it is hard to know. So the ones that are maybe in the public domain could be the private sector, but when it comes to public tenders, then they are the first ones to know. So somehow, somewhere there is a gap when it comes to corruption issues and public officers as well. And I believe the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission should do something about that. Yes.
And when it comes to, so who is supposed to sit at the evaluation table?
Of course, if it is the public, if it is a public tender, of course we have the specific head of the department that has got needs in that particular department. You also have the head of that particular, could be, if it is, say, Ministry of Agriculture, maybe you could have a representative from the Principal Secretary's office, yes, and a representative also from the Regulations Authority, the Procurement Regulations Authority, to be able to ascertain the membership of this particular supplier, yes, and maybe a representative also from the professional body. Yes, for example, if you are applying for maybe construction, you should be able to be registered with the National Construction Authority prior to even the registration for supply of construction materials. Okay. Yes.
And Kagi, I think there is a question that you would also ask, whether you can supply everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yes, so when it comes to supplying everything, it is not possible. When it comes to public sector, you have to be registered specifically for a particular area, because we talked about registration from a professional body. Yeah. So when you have the registration from a professional body, then you are eligible to apply for a license to
within that category.
Within that category. Yes, within that category, so that you don't supply the wrong things. For example, we had the fertilizer issue. Yes. So if you investigate, you realize that the person who was in charge of that supply issue maybe has got no enough knowledge when it comes to fertilizers. Yes, that's why when they were questioned by Parliament, they had issues.
That's why we had disclosed that the person, if a member of a regulated profession, has satisfied all the professional requirements.
Yes, that satisfaction now is what we are talking about. So by the time even you are registered with that particular professional body, you might have some experience. Okay. Yes, so that they certify you. Could be you are an academician in that particular area. Then later on, you decide now to move to supplying of needs or requirements in that particular area. Yes.
And we have cases. Is it? Can we really say that there have been cases, as maybe some people would want to think of, maybe people who have been awarded some of these tenders without this due process?
Yes, it is possible. It is possible sometimes when it comes to contingency situations or emergency situations like the COVID-19. During the COVID-19, there are certain regulations that were specified for this particular time, because there was no time to go the entire procurement process, while these needs are emergency needs, so they need to be taken care of immediately. Okay, so there are certain situations that would give a leeway for such. Okay, but normally we also have people who forgo, yes, who can be registered. Again, maybe through dubious means they can get you know even River Road, you can get that registration. Yes.
And there's a lot.
Yes, and if the process is not properly, if it is not properly assessed, if it is not properly analyzed, then it could pass for a genuine. Yes.
And I just wanted to find out, does the law allow maybe someone to be awarded a particular tender maybe for 1, 2, 3 times, or maybe even more than 5 times?
I'm not sure about that. But if the viability of this person is good, for example, if this person has a good recommendation from past experiences, maybe as he or she has worked with the government from time to time and he has been able to deliver, then why not? Yes.
And then there was the question, I think we also saw one Kenyan really saying that this information sometimes we don't even get to know it. It's a major requirement, it's a legal requirement that the tender notice should be open, it should be published, so that all Kenyans are supposed to know.
Yes, that is why it is normally, I believe most Kenyans do not visit the Public Procurement Regulations Authority portal, where most of these public procurement tenders are posted. Some of them come to the newspapers. Nowadays people don't read newspapers, I don't know why. But I believe in the newspapers is where you get a lot of information regarding tenders. Like, for example, the details and the specifications you're asking about, most of them are there. The financial obligations, even what you need. Like now the licenses, like you'll be told you need this license, you need that. Yes. So when you apply, you just apply based on what you have seen, but you have not read the specifications. So when it comes to the procurement committee that is sitting down to assess what has been applied for, you just throw it out. Yes, so you'll find that those who have met that and have been there in the industry for some time will always get the tender. Yes, because you do not take time to study and to understand what is really needed.
And what happens to this kind of a scenario whereby you have won a tender, your procurement has just gone through, but along the way you are unable to satisfy or maybe perform the work, and your contract is cancelled, let's talk about by the government, and already you were given some money to be able to continue with your job, maybe a deposit, and the minister or the government cancels your tender or contract and invite someone else to be able to pick from there. What happens? Do you return the money back?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because I believe by the government, by the time the government remits the money to you, they already have a plan of what next. If they are going to award the tender to somebody else, then they'll have the budget for it. Yes, so maybe they'll write it off as bad debts or something.
Okay, yes. And maybe what is the biggest distinction between when you are procuring a private entity and the public entity?
Yes, okay, the biggest distinction when it comes to public and private is that with the public, of course, you have to follow the entire procurement process from one to the other without jumping in. Because at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, you'll go back, and then they'll say you did not follow the procurement regulations as put by law. Okay? But when it comes to private, of course, it will depend on how the supplier will negotiate with the owner of the entity or with whoever will be awarding the tender. Yes, so of course, their procurement process is shorter. It is just about identifying the needs, supplier sourcing, tendering process, and then awarding the tender. It is as short as that, as compared to the public one. The public one where you have to go through certain steps before even you get to the... When it comes also to maybe the specifications with the private, maybe it is not that strict that you have to be registered with these tax obligations and all that, the Chapter 6 and all that. Maybe they do not follow that to the letter because maybe to them it is just about business. But with government, you have to account for every step. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I think before even we move further, as we also coming close to the program, Mangicho, I think you can give us today's legal terminology.
Absolutely. I think we are going to have our legal terminology for today. And today, this is a term, Kagi, litigants. Litigants, when you talk about litigants, as far as the court corridors are concerned, it means individuals, organizations, or companies which are the parties to a proceeding before court. So when you're talking about litigants, it's basically individuals. So we can have a particular individual or one individual. We can talk about organizations. So we can have a whole organization acting or actually being represented as a litigant. Or actually, for purposes of this discussion, we can also have companies, or a company can also be represented as a litigant. Of course, these are parties to a proceeding before a court. So we can either have them maybe as the defendants, or maybe we can have them as the complainants in a particular matter, maybe or in a particular proceeding that is before the court. So we refer to them as litigants.
Of course, yeah. Yes. And I think also it gives birth to what they call the litigation.
Litigation, yeah, absolutely.
Maybe as we go ahead, you can also define for us what is a litigation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's a very common terminology also. Yeah,
litigation. Now, of course, now what the litigants are actually having, that particular issue that now has brought them into court.
Yes. I think we have like a bonus of 5-6 minutes there.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking, Kagi, as we come close, and because Mr. Milgo, you come also maybe from the academic perspective, now that you lecture students and you give them knowledge as far as procurement is concerned. As we move forward as a country, as a society, what do you think therefore needs to be done for us to actually maybe ensure that we will improve as far as maybe the procurement sector is concerned?
Yes, I think first of all we should appreciate that in school nowadays people learn procurement. Okay. So even if you are not you do not want to learn procurement in its entirety, just come and do a short course on procurement before you now go deep into, maybe you might not be a professional in procurement. You could be into agriculture, you could be into construction, you could be into transport and all that, but just come and do something small about procurement to understand how it is done, so that next time you don't complain and say, okay, we do not know how these things are done, they are just dished out, so that by the time you complain, now you understand what is needed of you, and maybe you are able to meet everything that was needed, and maybe now you're able to question why was it not awarded to you. Yes.
And how you think it helps, other than the public institutions, even maybe for particular businesses, owners of particular businesses, organizations, and maybe even companies?
Yes.
How embracing procurement can actually help them?
Yes, and maybe they should even consider maybe hiring either procurement officers, or if they are not able to hire, maybe they should enroll to some of these courses so that they understand what's up with the procurement. Yes.
Well, maybe what could be some of the major or basic ethical requirements of any procurement officer? We have young procurement, young people who want to take up the jobs, and they don't know maybe.
Basically, procurement, to be able to be a good procurement officer is just about fairness fairness and equity, and that is what the Procurement Regulations Authority requires of any procurement officer. And when you become a procurement officer, maybe you'll be meant to sign some of these contracts before even you are awarded the licenses that you are supposed to follow these regulations. So being a procurement officer, it is a good thing. At the same time, it is challenging. Yes, especially if you are corrupt. But if you are not corrupt, you are willing to serve Kenyans, then it is a good fit.
And by the way, because this is all about the laws pertaining to procurement.
Yes.
What are some of the punitive measures if one were maybe to violate some of
Yes,
these
if you
laws
violate
regarding
if you violate these rules regarding procurement, thus of course your license will be withdrawn, so you cannot practice procurement anywhere within Kenya, because
you are banned.
You are banned. You are banned. It is just like any other regulation authority, just like the dentist union and all that.
Yes.
When your license is withdrawn, then you are not able to practice, and you cannot procure anywhere with government.
Wow.
Yes, and you also get into the criminal record, just like you mentioned that you should not have any criminal record. You also get into the criminal records when it comes to procurement. Yes.
Wow.
Okay, and also maybe finally there's someone who is watching us right now and is asking himself or herself, what exactly is this that I should be very careful with when I'm planning to bid?
Yes.
To be able to win that bid.
Yes, to be able to win that bid, I believe first of all, you're supposed to look into the licensing, make sure that you're licensed, make sure that you are registered with your professional body. If you are to do with maybe construction, make sure that you are registered with the National Construction Authority. Every area, I believe, in this country has some kind of body that governs how things are done in that particular area. And also, maybe if you do not have the financial capabilities, maybe join up with like-minded people. You can be able to form some kind of a company, some kind of an organization to be able to raise finances, to be able to meet. Nowadays, I see even up to 50,000, 100,000, you can be able to win a tender even for cleaning and all that. Yes, you can be able to win tenders. Yes, recently I saw NHIF. Yes, it was awarding a tender for 200,000 shillings for cleaning services. Yes, so the youth and the women and even the disabled can be able to take up that, and then you can build on it, so that next time when they are advertising a tender for a bigger financial obligation, then you're able to meet that.
And therefore they should not fear to...
Yes, they should not fear. Yes, everywhere begins from something small and then you grow with time.
Yes. Yes. What is your last counsel to maybe young professionals?
Yes, my last counsel to young professional is that remain focused. Okay. My last counsel to young professionals in this procurement profession is that let's work to build procurement in our country, so that at least one of the departments that should be trusted is procurement. Our counties are coming up, and one of the major issues when it comes to the county, when it comes to their financial obligations, is procurement. And when we focus on streamlining these procurement regulations, then our country will be a better place. Let's also strive to go and get more knowledge on the emerging trends when it comes to procurement. Make sure that you are in line with the current trends.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mr. Kenneth Milgo, who is a lecturer at African Institute and a procurement officer there. We thank you so much for taking your time to come to us and educate public on the procurement laws. We are wishing you all the best from this point.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and at that point, we want to thank you also for finding time to follow our program today. On behalf of the entire crew of the Legal Tuesday, my name is Paul Kagi. I'm wishing you a blessed day ahead.
Of course, as Kagi has put it, many thanks for keeping us company. We'll always do it on Tuesdays at the same time, same place. And of course, tomorrow we are yet again here for another edition of Leadership Wednesday. Make sure you set a date with us. My name is Mangi Chomola. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.